Here we are back together again, friends, for another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.
I'm Tzipi. I'm a mother of 2 kids. My older, Haley, she's 3.5 years old, and she has type 1 diabetes.
Please don't forget that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. I know this is going to sound crazy, but Blue Circle Health is a nonprofit that's offering a totally free virtual type 1 diabetes clinical care, education, and support program for adults 18 and up. You heard me right. Free. No strings attached. Just free. Currently, if you live in Florida, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Ohio, Delaware, Missouri, Alabama, Mississippi, Iowa, or Louisiana, you're eligible for Blue Circle Health right now, but they are adding states quickly in 2025. So make sure to follow them at Blue Circle Health on social media and make yourself familiar with bluecirclehealth.org. Blue Circle Health is free. It is without cost. There are no strings attached. I am not hiding anything from you. bluecirclehealth.org. You know why they had to buy an ad? No one believes it's free. Today's podcast is sponsored by the insulin pump that my daughter has been wearing since she was 4 years old. Omnipod. Omnipod.com/juicebox. You too can have the same insulin pump that my daughter has been wearing every day for 16 years. Today's podcast is sponsored by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox. You can get your diabetes supplies from the same place that we do. And I'm talking about Dexcom, Libre, Omnipod, Tandem, and so much more. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514.
I'm Tzipi. I'm from Calgary, Alberta in Canada. I'm a psychologist in my profession. I'm a mother of 2 kids. My older, Haley, she's 3.5 years old, and she has type 1 diabetes.
Wow.
And that's why I'm here today.
Awesome. And now we're going to do a little thing where you explain to me how to say your name. So do I swallow the T? Do I just say Tzipi?
Oh, that's a very common question. You just say C, you use the T like with pizza, like Tzipi. I don't know.
Wait, hold on. Tzipi?
Yeah.
I got it?
Perfect.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, you got it.
Hold on. Slow down. Let me just jot down phonetically what I just did. Do you need help with my name? I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
No, that's pretty easy.
I'm just kidding. So, how many kids did you say you have?
2. I have a newborn, like 5-month-old baby.
Oh my gosh.
And a 3.5 years old girl.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Thank you.
That's lovely. So how long ago was your daughter diagnosed?
So she was diagnosed 10 months ago, when she was 2.5 years old.
Oh gosh.
And I was pregnant. Yes.
Oh.
17 weeks pregnant. Yeah. That was fun.
I was just about to say Arden was just 2 years old when she was diagnosed and draw a parallel, but I was not pregnant at the time. So
yes. So that definitely adds more layers of stress and interesting experiences for sure.
I think I'd like to hear about that a little bit. How far along were you, and then what happened that showed you that your daughter needed help?
So it actually, I think it started like few months prior to the diagnosis. I always noticed, always felt that something is a bit off. She was always irritated. We started to have tantrums when she was 1 year old already. She was very moody. She wasn't a calm baby. And few months prior to the diagnosis, I noticed that she's not really growing. I looked at her friends in daycare, and everyone was growing and getting bigger, and she wasn't. And I remember I asked her doctor, like, what's going on? Why she's not getting any taller, any bigger? And the doctor was like, she's okay. She's not losing weight. Everything looks great. Like all other aspects were great. Tantrums, he said that's pretty normal, very normal toddler's behavior. And I said, okay. At the time, I didn't know a lot about type 1 diabetes. And then a few months later, she started to drink a lot of water. She was also very attached to her bottle. She was 2. So I said, okay, maybe that's normal. So she was drinking a lot, but then she started to pee a lot too, which at the time made sense because I was like, okay, she's drinking lots of water. She's peeing a lot. That makes sense. Like this fluid need to go somewhere. But then she started to wet the bed as well. And it became more and more severe. But then my husband and I thought that it's just, maybe we need to increase the size of the diapers. So that's what we did. And it worked until it didn't. And then we changed again the diaper size and it didn't work. So then I started to look up on Google to see what can it be, because it didn't seem familiar at all. And she also became very obsessed with water. She was thirsty all the time. And now when I think about it, I feel super bad that I didn't ring any bell.
How long did this go on for? Why do you feel bad?
It lasted for, I think, maybe 4 months or so. I mean, it progressively went worse and worse. So it wasn't unusual in the beginning because she was always attached to her bottle. As I said, she was always drinking a lot. I told the doctors all the time, ask me, like, is she drinking water? And like, yes, she's drinking a lot. And they were like, great, that's so healthy. And I'm like, yeah, great. So it took me time to realize that something is off. And when I Google all the symptoms, then I saw something about type 1 diabetes. And I was like, oh. And then I met with her doctor the next day, and her doctor was saying, yeah, it can be type 1, although it's very rare in her age. It might be just like a normal toddler's behavior, like some weird toddler behavior. But you know what? Let's check. Let's rule it out. And the next day I took her for some blood work, and I will never forget it. It was Saturday in the evening. Our doctor called me. He's a very dedicated doctor, by the way. He's always checking everything. So he called me right away and he was like, where is your daughter? Is she awake? And I'm like, yeah, why? And I'm looking back and I see my daughter in a huge meltdown, lying down on the floor. As usual, when my husband was trying to put her to sleep. So it was evening. Nothing unusual for us. We've been going through this for a while with her. And then I asked him why, what's going on? And he told me her sugar was very, very high. I'm like, okay, how high? And he's telling me 29, which is, I think, 520. So again, reminding you, I didn't know a lot about type 1 diabetes. And I asked him, okay, how high is it? And he's like, the maximum is 10. If your child is sick, it might be 11, but that's very high. I'm pretty sure she has type 1 diabetes and you need to go to the hospital right now. That can be very dangerous. She can get unconscious.
Right.
So my heart just fell at that moment. And my husband didn't hear this conversation. So I'm looking back at my husband, my daughter, and I'm like saying to my daughter, hey, what do you think about going for a road trip? And she was like ecstatic. She was so happy. She was running and lying down the floor. Yeah, road trip. And my husband is looking at me. I have no idea what's going on. And I just told him we need to go to the hospital. Her doctor thinks she has type 1 diabetes. And my husband is like, no, I'm sure it's nothing. Let's go. Let's check. Let's see. So I had a feeling that this is it. Like she has type 1 diabetes.
Mm-hmm. No, it sucks. Is it in the family at all? Like when the doctor first said it to you, did you think, oh, that makes sense? Or
No. Later on, I found out that my husband, so his uncle was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, but when he was 20, and I didn't know about it. My husband didn't really know much about it. So it was out of the blue.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. That sucks. So you get to the hospital, 522, it's a big number.
Yeah.
How long? And she's little, I would imagine. What do you think she weighed at that point? Diabetes comes with a lot of things to remember. So it's nice when someone takes something off of your plate. US Med has done that for us. When it's time for Ardent's supplies to be refreshed, we get an email. Rolls up and in your inbox says, hi, Ardent, this is your friendly reorder email from US Med. You open up the email, it's a big button that says, click here to reorder, and you're done. Finally, somebody taking away a responsibility instead of adding one. US Med has done that for us. An email arrives, we click on a link, and the next thing you know, your products are at the front door. That simple. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. I never have to wonder if Ardent has enough supplies. I click on one link, I open up a box, I put the stuff in the drawer, and we're done. US Med carries everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Libre 3 and the Dexcom G7. They accept Medicare nationwide, over 800 private insurers, and all you have to do to get started is call 888-721-1514 or go to my link, usmed.com/juicebox. Using that number or my link helps to support the production of the Juicebox podcast. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Omnipod. And before I tell you about Omnipod, the device, I'd like to tell you about Omnipod, the company. I approached Omnipod in 2015 and asked them to buy an ad on a podcast that I hadn't even begun to make yet. Because the podcast didn't have any listeners, all I could promise them was that I was going to try to help people living with type 1 diabetes. And that was enough for Omnipod. They bought their first ad, and I used that money to support myself while I was growing the Juicebox podcast. You might even say that Omnipod is the firm foundation of the Juicebox podcast. And it's actually the firm foundation of how my daughter manages her type 1 diabetes every day. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Whether you want the Omnipod 5 or the Omnipod DASH, using my link lets Omnipod know what a good decision they made in 2015 and continue to make to this day. Omnipod is easy to use, easy to fill, easy to wear. And I know that because my daughter has been wearing one every day since she was 4 years old, and she will be 20 this year. There is not enough time in an ad for me to tell you everything that I know about Omnipod, but please take a look. Omnipod.com/juicebox. I think Omnipod could be a good friend to you, just like it has been to my daughter and my family.
I think she was maybe 10 kilos,
Okay.
something. Yeah. So, in the hospital, everyone was great, actually very supportive. It was I didn't know what is expected. On the way there, my daughter was so high and excited. And I told her, we're going to this great hotel. I just developed this great story because I had no idea how to communicate it to her. I didn't know what to expect. So she was very excited. We went there. The doctors, they were very quick. They poke her finger, which was to me like shock the first time. Luckily, she wasn't in DKA. They said we found it on time. And they said we don't need to stay the night there. And they were very supportive, very gentle. They said, there can be other reasons why blood sugar is so high, but it's high now. So maybe let's start with insulin. Let's start for now.
Do you think they knew she had diabetes and they were trying to ease you into it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. To me, it was clear. Like for my husband, that was very helpful because it gave him some hope that maybe, although there can be other like worse things,
Sure.
that can explain why sugar is high other than type 1 diabetes. But it helped my husband, but I knew. But it was nice to hear in a way.
Yeah. Do you feel like your husband and you were on diverging paths at that point? Like, did you have a different experience than he did?
I think for him, both of us were shocked. I understood it quicker that, that this is it. So I really tried not to have any like false hopes or something. It was very clear to me that something is off. And it explained lots of things, actually. And when they gave her the insulin, we went back home and it was one of the best and peaceful. It was the most peaceful night we have ever had. My daughter has ever had. She slept so well that night. We were having so many struggles with sleep. But when she got the insulin, she was all of a sudden so calm. And that also gave me hope personally, because I felt like, okay, now we know what it is. Now we know how to address it. We have treatment. Great. So that was helpful to see how it is affecting her.
Wow. You talk a little bit in your note to me about the emotional aspects of having a toddler with type 1. So I'm wondering what you've learned, what you've been through.
Wow, that's quite a journey. So, raising a toddler is hard enough, not to mention raising a toddler with the type 1 diabetes. And I'm sure you know from your own experience. So it is hard. In the beginning, I had no idea how to communicate it to her. So I just tried to use a language she knows, she's familiar with. So right in the beginning, I told her that her sensor or her pump are superpowers, and it keeps her safe and healthy. And this is how we know that she can get bigger and stronger, and it keeps her safe, basically. So I invented this story around superheroes, superpower. She was very excited about. So every time in the beginning, we were on MDI. Now we have a pump. Luckily, we got it very fast. That's another story where I had to really advocate for her. We were on MDI, so I made sure to create this very positive routine around diabetes, around injection, just to make it more fun and not so different. So when she was born, I was very firm against, limiting, not allowing screen time at all. But back then, I needed something to distract her. So I told her that this is her dedicated time to watch some songs that she likes. I used to go almost every day, the first 6 months, to the store to buy some surprises for her, some crafts, some painting. And she used to get, after every injection, some surprise. So she became so excited about it. We also used to put stickers and decorate her sensor and pump. And I let her put also stickers on me. In fact, we're still doing that. So she'll feel like it's something fun she's doing with her mom, and she's no different than anyone else. So that helped a lot.
Is that something you've kept up, or has that sort of died down?
No, so we're still doing it. And actually, this superhero story is working really great. I know that, it's time limited. For now, she really likes it. I used to collect pictures of kids her age with pumps and sensors and stickers. And I used to tell this story that they are superheroes and this is her power. And I actually have a very funny story about that. So one time we're at the pool and she saw a bigger kid with a sensor, and she was screaming in front of everyone, "Hey mom, look, another superhero." And that kid is just looking at her and
he's like, "My mom didn't tell me that."
Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
Seriously, Tzipi, what a great idea. Just to change the narrative.
Yes.
Just make it what it is and you decide what it is.
Yeah, and I think it's true also when she will be bigger, because I know that coping with any challenge in life is really about how you see it, what
Right.
you make out of it. And I really wanted, the day she was diagnosed, I decided that I want her to have the best possible life, and I'm going to make this experience as positive as I can, as normal as I can for her. So the stories will change, and I'm slowly telling her more and more about diabetes. Now she knows that it's insulin that I'm putting into the pump, and trying to keep it age appropriate, of course. But I wanted her to realize that she's no different than other, and diabetes will never prevent her from doing anything she wants.
How do you imagine the stories will morph over time? Have you thought about it? What happens when she's like, "Oh, I'm not a superhero"? What do you say then?
Yeah, that's where I'm struggling, to be honest. And I was also reaching out to other parents and to the community, and we have honestly a very great community in all of the Facebook groups. And I'm talking to so many people and just trying to understand what other people are doing. But I think, this superhero story for me is about her being brave, regardless of, how I call it or what it involves, her
Yeah.
being brave, overcoming difficulties. And that's true. It's not going to disappear when she'll be bigger and the story will change. I really believe that she is brave. She's dealing with so many things that me in her age, I never had to deal with it. So I think this is what it's all about. Basically, her being brave and strong, regardless of challenges that life might bring.
Yeah.
With time, I will tell her more. And I'm waiting for her to ask me more questions, because I don't want to bombard her with information she's not ready to yet as well. So I'm also waiting. I don't know when she will ask me, "Why, Mom, why am I beeping in school?" So she's going also to school, and we're looping. So we give her boluses remotely, and there is always this beeping sound. Yeah, so I'm just waiting for her to ask more questions.
I just realized you're basically this is Santa Claus. You're telling a story that's really fantastic, and then one day someone's going to wake up and go, "Oh, hold on a second."
Yeah. But I'm hoping it will be gradual. So I'm
sure.
I'm not planning to just keep it like this until she's 20 and she's like, "Mom, what's going on?" I'm not this superhero, but
I haven't flown or crawled up a wall or anything yet. When is any of that coming? No.
Yes.
Listen, how old is she again right now?
Now she's 3.5.
Yeah. This is lovely. It really is, to let her feel special and at the same time not different. It's a tightrope act. And I think it sounds like you're doing a good job with it,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really trying.
You said earlier there was some stuff on your husband's side of the family. What else did you find after you dug in?
Nothing really.
No?
Nothing really. Mainly that.
Just that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There hasn't been thyroid or celiac or anything else? No. Okay.
But I'm very mindful of the connections between other autoimmune disease too. So we're always monitoring as well for other stuff, hoping they will not come. But
okay. Of course. How much of this approach do you think comes from your professional background? Do you think this would have been something you thought of without that?
That's a great question. I'm not sure, to be honest, because I feel like all the knowledge I have definitely helped. But you know what? I also feel that I was, when Haley, my daughter, when she was born, I was so attached to her immediately. And the day she was born, I swore that, I'm always going to love her and be there for her regardless, no matter what. And when she was diagnosed, I felt like this need of me became stronger. And I feel like, I'm looking at her and I feel like I own it to her just to be, I'm responsible for her happiness. And she's so young. She's just starting her life. And I just want her to have a great one. So I was always actively looking. I was reading a lot. So I'm not sure if it's really my professional background or me just being very active in gaining more knowledge and hearing stories about other people's, experience. I was talking a lot with people with type 1 diabetes that are adult now, but they were diagnosed when they were young too. And they're telling me great stories about the things that helped them.
Yeah.
The things that their parents were doing to help them cope better and feel special. So that helped a lot. So I'm all the time actively working to improve and to gain more knowledge just to help her better.
Are you a more mature? For the last 30 seconds, I've been trying to figure out how to ask you this, but you're a more mature mother, right? Like you're in your 30s.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Because I mean, like that feeling of, I don't know, it's something about the way you discussed your responsibility to her just made me feel like you'd been around for an extra 10 years. That's all.
Oh.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It felt like a very mature. I guess what I'm saying is not that younger mothers aren't like, hey, I know I'm here to take care of my kid, but the way you spoke about it just gave me a feeling of you being older. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, like you've been through something. Have you been through other things? Like, has life been challenging at other times, or is this your first shot at this kind of thing?
Definitely. In my personal life, I went through some things and some journeys, of course, which maybe stronger, but it might contribute to some of those approaches.
Yeah, I feel like I hear them in your voice. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't want to ask you what they were, but it feels like there was.
You're very good. You're very good.
Yeah. It sounds like you've been through some shit, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So diabetes is almost nothing. No, I'm kidding, but
no, of course, but yeah, almost not. Problems do prepare you for more problems. They just do,
And you know what? I think that coping with type 1 diabetes also made me definitely changed my perspective even now, because I want to believe that I'm a very rational person. I was always looking for explanations and answers, and I always, looking for some predictability. And diabetes, really, I feel like many times there is no logic. There are no explanations. And I was stuck for a while on the whys. Why is it happening? Why? I did everything correctly. I gave her the bolus that I needed. And now she's spiking. Now she's going low. Like, what's going on? What's happening? I was so stressed. And actually, you helped me a lot, because listening to your podcast, I understand that there is no point on, being stuck on the whys, because we just need to do it to manage it pretty much in a way that is detached from emotions. She's high now. She needs more insulin. Like it's not going to help just think about why, the reason. Like who knows why?
You can make yourself crazy trying to figure it out in the moment a lot of times.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, how did you get to looping so quickly?
So after she was diagnosed, I felt like I went on a mission to make sure she's going to get the best possible care. So despite the shock, despite the sadness, all these negative emotions, I started researching a lot. I was talking to so many doctors and researchers all around the world. And then after 2 weeks in, it was very clear to me that she needs to be on a pump. And then I was reading about loop, because in Canada, we don't have yet the tubeless pump on a closed loop, basically. So, and then I found out about loop. And I said, that's great, because I want her to be independent as much as possible. I want her to go to school. I want to be able to manage it all without bothering her teachers or anyone around her. So, and then I found out about it, and it was so great. So I was so excited. And it brings me to another story. I went to her doctors 2 weeks in and was like, yeah, we're going to have a pump. And our doctors, they were amazing, very supportive, very kind. But unfortunately, they were lacking of resources as well. So they told us, well, unfortunately, you will need to wait for 6 months. There was, they had all the other explanations as well, and logic that we need to be familiar first with with injections and all the other stuff. But they said, I'm sorry, we don't have enough resources. There is a waiting list. You need to wait for 6 months. And I said, no, we're not going to wait. And then it took me to another journey where I had to advocate for her. And again, reminding you, I was pregnant, very angry. And
I was gonna say, I'm not arguing with a pregnant lady trying to get an insulin pump for her toddler. That's for sure.
Yes. So I was very, very angry, very into this protective mode. She's going to have a pump. That's the best for her. That's the best standard of care. This is what she deserves. She's going to have a pump. So let's say I had what I needed to do. I did what I needed to do at the time. So I even reached the media at the time. I was very much motivated, and eventually the doctors, and I'm very grateful for it until now, they approved the pump. It was, I think, 2 months in already. And I also mentioned Loop, and they were very much, they can't support us with that. So they referred us to another clinic that can offer support with looping. And then she got a pump, and it was 1 month before I gave birth. So we didn't have a lot of time. And you probably know that when you move from MDI to a pump,
there's adjustments.
Everything is changing.
Tzipi, we got to go back though. You contacted the media?
Yes.
What did you... Oh my God. I bet your husband was like, hey, you should just do whatever you think is right. And then he hid in a corner.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I've been married a long time. I'd be like, oh, I don't think I even want to be involved in this anymore.
Exactly. He just let me do whatever.
Are there news reports of him standing 3 feet behind you looking scared by any chance?
I think I can find some pictures for sure. In our family.
I'm here to be supportive, but I just want to say this wasn't my idea.
Yes.
So what did you do?
Well, it didn't go far because I reached out to one.
Like, oh my God, what is she doing?
Yeah, luckily. So I just contacted a reporter, and then I guess they contacted the hospital, and then I think it was a few days later where the hospital just called me and said, okay, listen, we're going to approve it, and we have
You
space.
Misunderstood. You misunderstood. Yeah. No, we said you can have it right away. Other people have to wait, not you.
Yeah, and they were very kind because we had also special family circumstances with me being pregnant, and my daughter. We enrolled her in a new school as well. So she started a new school. I gave birth, so there were lots of changes, and I knew that her being on a pump right after will be a disaster. So I really wanted everything to be ready before all these big changes. So
listen, way to go.
Thank you. That was
I am just trying to picture the doctor answering the phone. He'd be like, in that Canadian accent, he's like, hello. And then there's another Canadian accent that's like, oh, hey. And then they're O and A and back and forth. And then the reporter says, why won't you let Tzipi's kid have an insulin pump? And the guy was probably like, oh, what?
Yes.
No, yeah. We are going to do it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know how my impression was, by the way, but in my mind, it was perfect.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're wonderful, and their support is amazing. Sure. But and I get it. There is only so much they can do, unfortunately, with the public system. But yes.
Well, thank God you didn't have to sick your polar bear on them or whatever it is you live up there with.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, way to go. And then, so then you set her up on Loop right as you're getting ready to have the baby.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. So you get that accomplished before you give birth?
Yes. And of course, right while I was giving birth, of course, all these things were happening. So we have a really crazy and fun story about it as well. Because we started with Loop, and then it was very new to us, and we were very careful, very afraid of insulin, to be honest. So in the beginning, she was running high for a while, and of course, the day I gave birth, she was running high too, and it was a disaster. This evening, we tried to put her to sleep. She didn't want to go back to sleep. She was so high. She was running all around the house. Finally, after she calmed down a bit, I was sitting down just to have my dinner, and then boom, my water broke. So I was chasing after her while my water actually dripping everywhere, trying to calm her down, trying to explain her I'm going to the hospital. We left to the hospital, and while I'm dealing with my contractions, with one hand, I'm watching my phone, watching her numbers, and I see the numbers are not going down. So I'm saying to my husband, okay, you need to stop. We need to stop it right now. You're going home. I just forced him to go home to check what's going on. I thought that something with the pump is not working. She's so high, something is off. Now I know that we didn't give her enough insulin, but at the time I thought that the pump is not working. So I told him the baby is not coming until everything is settled. You need to go back home. So he went back home. And then, of course, Loop stopped working when he came back home. Probably there was some updates. He didn't know what to do with it at the time. He didn't tell me, luckily, anything about that. He was able to sort it out and numbers went down eventually. And then the moment he called and he told me like numbers are down, she's good, she's great, I started to feel a baby coming out. And that was a huge drama because, the doctors, they were pushing me on the bed, rushing me into the delivery room. I'm still watching the numbers, or my doctors were screaming like, where is the dad? And the doula is like, he went home to check his daughter's sugar number. And I'm like, I'm not waiting for him to come back, to be back. I'm going to deliver this baby. And then I'm there, lying there in the delivery room. And once the baby came out, my husband came into the room like this rock star. So he didn't miss it, luckily.
And 3 nurses asked him out on a date. Like, you were off helping your daughter with her diabetes and you made it back for this? I'm going to marry you away from this lady.
Yeah, so that was
that's crazy.
Yeah.
When you said I was about to have the baby and it was, I forget what you said, upsetting, I thought you were going to say because of how that happens. But, where the baby comes from, I don't know why God didn't set that up better is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, if I put you in charge, would you go, oh, you know where the baby should come out of?
Yes.
Oh, you wouldn't say that.
Yes.
Or you'd say, you know what, let's get back together in a couple of days. We're going to meet again on this and see if we can't figure out something else.
Yes.
Tzipi, I don't know how this happens to me, but I saw a woman on Instagram do like a 7-day postpartum check. And like, she was like, I don't know what my algorithm thinks I am exactly. But then there I was, I watched it because it was interesting. Like, her stomach was shrinking over the 7 days. She was excited. You could see the life come back into her face. It was really exciting. Except during the entire thing, she was wearing a diaper.
Oh.
And I thought, how does this video like not just stop every woman in the world from having children? Like, how do they not see this and go, hey, you know what? I'm going to get a puppy.
But you know what? Giving birth was actually the best experience I had in this whole story. Like,
how is that possible?
Much better than
better than the diabetes.
Yes.
All right. Well, there you go.
It was actually that part was actually pretty great.
That's awesome.
Having a newborn and a toddler with type 1 diabetes in the beginning was definitely challenging. I remember holding my baby in one hand, breastfeeding him, and holding my phone in another hand, giving my daughter insulin in the middle of the night because she's high. So that's how it looked like.
How about your emotions around that time? Did you feel it bleeding over to the diabetes?
Well, yeah, of course. So I felt, and I'm still actually pretty sad about that because I really felt that, unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of, in the beginning, opportunities to connect to my baby as much as I wanted because I was so distracted with diabetes. As I said, everything was so new. The pump, Loop. My daughter started a new school, so there were so many things around that, meeting her teachers and explaining everyone, educating everyone around that. So it was a lot of work.
Yeah. You missed a little bit of time with a newborn.
Yes.
And experiences. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, actually, about how like the course of our lives are different than they would have been, and the little things that get lost. Or I was just watching myself and my wife kind of go through our house the other day and do our jobs and then do the things we do with the kids and do the things that you do for meals and the home and the whole thing. And I stepped back and I thought, there's not a split second of free time in our life. We just go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and then to bed. And then sometimes you don't even get to sleep. And
wow. So do you feel it too?
I do. I think it's a little how we're wired, like in general. Like my wife and I are hard workers. Like, so I think that's a little how we're wired. But at the same time, by the way, I don't mean to say that people who take downtime aren't hard workers. I just mean like we get things done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The diabetes part, like I looked at the day and I thought, actually made me think more about when Arden was younger, because at this point, there's not as much diabetes in our day. Now I just think we're wired this way. But I look back to when she was younger and it was just one thing after the next.
Exactly.
And I thought, do other people get to stop? Do they get a half an hour? Like, I eat standing up.
I do the same.
Yeah.
It's funnier. My husband and I, like, yeah, we don't get even to enjoy our food, or not to mention our sleep.
My kids all the time are like, why don't you sit down? I'm like, sit down. Like, I just got to get this in my face so that I can do the next thing I got to do.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how much, I think I'm always going to wonder how much diabetes put me in this position and how much this is just who I am. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, to hear, not amazing, but I mean, I'm relieved in a way to hear, because I feel that too. And I also want to mention that diabetes really put me many times in this fight or flight mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this is pretty common, especially in the beginning, because I feel that this is my feeling, at least, that you can't get too comfortable with diabetes. One moment, you know exactly what you're doing, everything is working really great. And the other moment, like something is happening. And I feel like you always need to watch out and to pay close attention to what's going on. And, especially when she's in school. So I feel that all the time. Like, it's hard. It's hard to calm down. It's hard to relax. It's hard to have some downtime.
And it's not unreasonable either, Tzipi. It's not like you're sitting there worrying about something that you're like, oh, I'm just a worrier. Like, they have trouble communicating still. Right? They're young.
Exactly.
You can't communicate with them. They don't really understand. Like, if I went and grabbed your daughter right now and I was like, pulled the curtain back and I was like, hey, tell me about your diabetes, she'd be like, I'm a superhero. I have insulin. She wouldn't be like, oh, if I get too low, I could have a seizure. Like, she wouldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, she doesn't have that concept. So she's not going to know what to say. So that's for you to worry about. Right.
Exactly. And it's also hard. I'm trying really carefully to watch for symptoms, like when she's low. I'm trying to see, like, can she communicate it? And it's so weird. She can be low and then she's running around the house like this Tasmanian, demon. And like, I have no idea. If I'm not looking at the numbers, there is no way for me to know that she's low. When she's high, it's easier to see, I think, with her. But I feel like there are no symptoms, no warning signs.
I have to tell you, I love that with your accent, you went for Tasmanian. That was awesome. I was like, is she going to shoot for Tasmanian? Go ahead. I will tell you, it was so variable with Arden when she was little. And we didn't have a CGM and we didn't have a pump like in the first 4 years. And so it was up and down. And like, she'd get active, her blood sugar would fall. Like, I have to be honest with you, back then, I didn't even know activity made her blood sugar fall back then. Like, I hadn't put those 2 and 2s together yet.
Yeah. And it makes sense. Like,
well, of course, but
how can you know?
Yeah. Who's going to tell me back then? And
yeah,
I don't know. Like, there's something about that, about them being so little and not being able to communicate it well, and it being so variable, and the tiniest bit of insulin moving them one way or the other. They don't weigh very much. And I don't know. Like, I just think that if I could go back and watch myself in those first couple of years, I probably had the same experience with Arden's toddler years as you had with your baby's newborn days. Like, I just think I missed a lot just staring. I wrote a blog post one time about staring at her, trying to figure out if she was okay.
Really?
Because I was like, maybe it's the bags under her eyes, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Like, and what I ended up doing was I kept taking pictures of her face.
Really?
I'd test her blood sugar, take a picture of her face, write the number with the blood sugar, then go back later.
Don't give me ideas.
No, listen, let me tell you what, it was a huge waste of time, because all I learned was I couldn't look her in the face and tell if she was high or low. That's all I learned. I couldn't tell. I went back later, looked at it. I was like, I don't remember what face goes with what number.
Wow. Yeah.
I beat myself up staring at her constantly, always thinking like, is she high? Is like something happening? Is she going to get low? A lot of my time was spent doing that.
I know. Yeah. I do the same. And it's just, that's what I realized just recently, that it's pointless because there are no answers. And sometimes I'm looking at her, and she looks pale. Maybe something is off, but it's not. Like, there are some times that she's perfectly fine and she looked a certain way. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. It means you live in Canada and she's not outside very often. In the sun. Yeah, right. Like, but meanwhile, you're trying to diagnose the whole situation like a lunatic. Trust me. I knew I was a lunatic back then. And now looking back, I just feel bad. I feel a little bad for my family back then, for us, just because I see what the technology does now.
Yes, you didn't have all the technology back then.
A few years in the other direction would have been such a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So you are facing similar challenges, I guess, with a toddler.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering because I found myself in the beginning very much obsessed with her numbers. I was connected to my phone the whole time. I didn't have a break. It was crazy. Of course, being on a pump brought us more stability for sure. But I'm just actively trying to calm down a bit and to give myself more time for just doing other things. And my husband and I, we're trying to be, a team. He's also very great. In the beginning, of course, he was less obsessed than I was with the numbers, and that brought some disagreements. But now we're really trying to divide all the responsibilities and work so I can have my downtime and he can have his own downtime, knowing that someone else is watching. And that brought a big relief.
I have to ask you, did he pull it together when the reporter showed up at his house to ask him why he wasn't taking it as seriously as you were?
No. No.
We're here because Tzipi says, like, oh, no, she misunderstood.
Oh, yeah, that was definitely something to remember. Yeah.
What do you think that is? How long have you been married?
9 years.
You're in your 30s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you say that, the way you said it, he didn't take it as seriously as I did. Like, what do you...
He wasn't as obsessed, or maybe, yeah.
But what does that mean? Yeah. Like, because what it means is you didn't think he was putting in the effort that it needed.
In his nature, is much more relaxed than I do. I'm like immediately jumping to the rescue. I'm so ready and so fast to act, so quick to act. And he's more chill. That's who he is in general. So I felt like he thought somewhere that, oh, that's okay. I can catch her numbers. I don't need to follow like every 5 minutes. In the beginning, it was every 5 minutes because when she was on injections, she wasn't stable at all. It was crazy. We gave her fast acting in the morning and then intermediate acting. And so we never knew when the peak is and of the insulin. And so she was always high or low. So I felt like we need to be on top of it. I mean, he was watching, of course, but he wasn't so obsessed.
Was he being a boy? What are we talking about here exactly? You know what I mean.
I'm not sure. I think it was a big shock to him. Hearing the news that your daughter has this potentially life-threatening illness was very, very shocking to him. So I think it took him time, and it takes time, right? Just to process this. It's big.
Yeah.
Realizing that something like this happened, and it brings lots of losses. And at my work, I'm very much aware of the fact that any chronic disease brings lots of losses and grieving process. And diabetes is like changing so quickly, the nature of diabetes, and it's something really big to grasp. So I think obviously it took him time to really realize and accept that, yeah, this is what it is. And
can you share some things that you feel like you've lost?
Oh, first of all, sleep. That's the most obvious part. I just said to my husband a few days ago that I really miss the feeling of just lying down in bed and just like collapsing, just going to sleep without thinking too much about tomorrow, about an hour from now, just sleeping.
Being able to shut off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I'm waking up every 2 hours, also because of my newborn, but also because of her, checking her numbers. And that's, I think, the saddest part, that our lack of sleep is not so much related to having a newborn, but more to the fact that our daughter has diabetes. So it's always, about monitoring.
Yeah. Do you find yourself limiting things that you would like to be doing? Because, like, for instance, I don't drink, but if I did, I don't think I would be able to bring myself to do that. Because I would think, like, what if I was inebriated and something happened, I couldn't deal with it?
Yeah. So, I mean, traveling, we're still very much worried about traveling, for example, outside of the country, because I'm thinking, like, what if something happened? And then, like, what do we do? Also, in the beginning, at least, we were avoiding going to some places my daughter really liked in the beginning, like going to the farmer's market. She used to like it so much, but she used also to eat. My daughter in general, she's eating very healthy. The most crazy stuff she's eating are fruits, like bananas, apples. So her favorite thing was to go to farmer's market and to eat this huge bowl of fruits with yogurt. So we were avoiding it in the beginning because we were like, I'm not doing that. Like, she's going to spike. I'm afraid to watch. I can't watch. It's too painful. So we're avoiding that. But then when we started with looping, we started to experiment more and try out different things. And we found out that it can work. So we started doing it again just recently. Also going to parties. I mean, like social gatherings with her was very scary because she loves snacking like any other toddler. And she used to snack constantly. And I think I asked one time in the Facebook group about snacking. What do you do with a toddler who can't stop snacking? How do you manage that? With Loop, it's easier. But that was very stressful. And I didn't want to say no. I didn't want to limit her with food, because food is also a passion of mine. And before she was diagnosed, we're doing it a lot. I took her to really good restaurants, and I love it just to introduce her different foods to her. And that changed a lot after diagnosis. So I was very careful all of a sudden of food. I was terrified of apples. That sounds ridiculous, but I was terrified of apples.
I've had those similar feelings.
Oh, okay.
Just looking at certain food and being like, oh, wait, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going to happen. We can't just eat this, because I was a stay-at-home dad when Arden was diagnosed. And my wife worked in the city. She took a train to work. She was gone big chunks of the day. So we'd get up early, get mom off to work, and Kelly would come back sometimes 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And sometimes she'd come back and it would be after dinner. And so she'd say, look, I'm just going to grab something on the way home. So I'd already fed the kids, managed the insulin, everything was coasting towards, bedtime. And my wife would roll in with a sack of food, and it was hot and it smelled good. I felt like she came into the house with a flamethrower, Yeah. Just here I am. I'm just going to lay waste to this place. That's how I felt. I'm like, do not bring more food into this house, please. I've already, I've done this for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for snacks. I'm done. Don't, I think I might actually have her blood sugar reasonably well, which by the way, I probably didn't. And that food would come in the house.
That happened. Yeah.
Oh, it scared the hell out of me. And then that's when I would usually because then I realized was my wife not going to eat? This is where she lives. You know what I mean? So I was so upset and frustrated. I would oftentimes say, hey, I didn't get a chance to take a shower today. And I would go in the bathroom and get in the shower and I would cry. Because I was just I can't do this again today.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I know the feeling so well. Yes.
Anyway, so what'd you say? Afraid of apples? That's what we're going to call it.
Apples and bananas, but not anymore.
Don't try to change it from Afraid of Apples. I love that. That's a great title. But not any longer? Because why? What did you learn?
We learn how to dose for it. Of course, it made a big difference, changing also the insulin type. So as I said, I was reading a lot, and she was using different insulin in the beginning. It was horrible. So nothing really helped, no matter how much time we waited after giving her insulin. It didn't help. She was spiking so bad. So I read, and we moved to Fiasp. And that made a huge a change in the way we manage her blood sugar. So it helped a lot. So we started to give her, big apples. And I have to tell you, she can eat huge apples, one after another, and she will ask for more. And and as I said, we didn't want to restrict her. We're still a bit stressed about it, because she was asking, Mom, can I have apple? But a big one, a big apple. And I'm yeah, sure, get an apple. And then she was asking for another one. Can I have another apple? Yeah, sure, another apple. Then, can I have a banana? I feel like she was testing us, to be honest. But she was
she's I think I can make this lady crack. Watch this. Can I get a banana?
Exactly. So she was just eating, and me and my husband were looking at each other and oh my God, what are we going to do? So we're just throwing insulin at her.
Yep.
It helped. It worked. I mean, it was okay. It's still not perfect, obviously, but it's much better. She's not restricted now. She's just we're really trying to let her eat whatever other kids are eating, which is different than what we're eating at home. For example, today you caught me in a great day, because her teacher just texted me yesterday saying that, hey, there is a birthday party today and we're going to have cupcakes. Okay, great. Another show. And so she sent me the pictures, and we were trying to estimate. And hopefully I didn't check my phone today. I really wanted to be present for a change in this, very important podcast. So I didn't check my phone. My husband is on it, but I hope it went well. So we're just trying to do a better job.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he's doing a good job, but later you can let him know when he didn't.
Yeah.
I have to tell you that I drifted away a second ago. You were talking about the apple and the bigger apple and the bigger apple. And you said, the blood sugar is going to go up. And I just started thinking about all the times when Arden was little that her blood sugar was high and I didn't know what I was doing. And I swear to God, I thought I was going to cry.
there is a lot of self-blame around that too.
No, it's exactly right. Like I actually thought like, oh God, how many times did I screw all that up?
Yeah. You feel it's all you, right? Like you did it. You're the reason why she's high. You're the reason why she's low. And that's what I feel constantly. And that's terrible.
It's not true either. And it's diabetes. Like that's the problem. Like, you know what I mean? And I was trying to figure it out. I didn't have like a podcast to listen to back then or something like that, but I was doing my best to figure it out. But it just, I morphed from thinking about how I felt taking care of Arden, how I feel about it when I reflect back on it now. But now I've had like, this decade of experience making the podcast, and now everybody's story just floods into my head as like one big idea of like, there's a 2-year-old right now who has type 1 diabetes, and their parents listen to the podcast, and maybe they're going to figure the whole thing out and never end up going through what I went through. Right. And then in my mind, that little kid becomes Ryan from like an episode a few days ago where he, was little when he was diagnosed, and nobody knew what they were doing. And 40 years later, he's got retinopathy and he's having eye surgeries and wakes up blind one day. And then he finds the podcast and he's okay. For every person you reach who might not end up down that path, there's probably 10 people who are never even going to know the podcast exists. That not intersecting with some valuable help, I wasn't intersecting with valuable help. I genuinely don't know how I got to where I am today when I look back on it. I
can't even imagine. And you didn't also have the technology.
It was what you were talking about earlier. Like all I really had was that incredible feeling of responsibility. Like I honestly think that that's the way I'm wired. And that's why Arden's okay today. Like, I swear to you, I don't want to dig too far into this because are you a therapist?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want you charging me. But I'm adopted. My adopted father left my mom. I raised my brothers. I have a lot of empathy for what they went through. And I think that part of my life wired me to feel very responsible for things and people.
That's amazing.
That's how I got through not being told anything about diabetes to being the person I am today, and having shared the things that I've shared so far. I don't have it in me to bail on something. That's pretty much it. There are times, I have to be honest with you, there are times I'm like, I wish this wasn't who I was. Like there are times I'd like to look at people and go, hey, you know what? You're all on your fucking own. I'm going. I cannot do that not for some reason, for pretty obvious reasons probably. But, anyway.
But your daughter is very lucky.
You guys are all lucky. My dad left my mom. Or like, I don't think you'd know how to take care of your kids. Seriously. It's just so strange to see how the dominoes fall. That's all.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
But you're making me think about that today.
You're doing an amazing job. You had to learn everything by yourself, and she's doing great from what I've been reading.
She's doing great. She really is. Yeah. But I mean, like,
that's something to be proud of. For sure.
Oh, I'm proud of it. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. I guess I'm in a spot this week where the people around me asked me to go back and listen to some episodes. Like I'll record this with you and it'll go out to an editor, to Rob. He'll edit it. He'll send it back. And like 6 months from now, I'll put it online, and then somebody's going to hear it, but I'm not going to remember it. I'll have the feeling from it and the things that I've learned from our conversation today. But like, if you said to me 6 months from now, oh, this is Tzipi, do you remember what you talked about with her? I'd be like, Canadian lady? Because I'll have had very likely 20, 40, 60, 80. I'll likely have had 120 more conversations between now and then.
Yeah. Wow.
People around me said, like, you got to go back and listen to Ryan's episode. And it's called Blinded by the Light. I think it's like 1411 or somewhere around there. And I went back and listened to it, like really listened to it as a listener, like not now. Like you might be surprised, CP, but like when we're done recording, it's my job to make a voice note about what we talked about. And I'm not very good at it. Like at the end of the hour, I almost won't know what we spoke about. And I swear to you. So I get sent back, go listen to Ryan's episode. And when I listened to Ryan's episode, what I heard him tell me was, I'm not blind because of you. And I was like, I don't remember that happening while we were having the conversation. Like I remember him saying the podcast helped him and like the things he learned, but like contextually, like I didn't remember that. So anyway, I've had that experience in the last day or so where I went back, listened to that. He sent me a private note since then about it. People around me have said, this to me. And so while you and I are having this conversation, I feel a little pressure to keep the podcast going, to find the next person who might be like find value in it. And
that's so important. That's so valuable.
It's where you got
because
me
you helped me a lot. And I'm sure there's so many people out there that gain so much from these episodes. And that's why I'm here too, because when my daughter was diagnosed, I immediately asked the doctors, do you have any support groups? Can we see a psychologist? Because really, this is something big. We need to talk about it with someone.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we don't really have support groups, and we can refer you to a social worker. Now, I know how important it is to talk with someone, to process all these big changes. And I felt very sad that they didn't have anything concrete to offer. So these days, I'm actually working on some, I have so many ideas as part of my professional work, just to start support groups for parents, because I know there is a huge need here where I live, for example.
Sincerely.
And there's so many parents out there who feel so isolated and so lost, and it shouldn't be like that.
If you can get that accomplished, I think that would be fantastic. I don't know. I found myself today talking to you, and the things that you're bringing up are bringing up like memories about me being, with my daughter when she was younger with type 1. And now they're getting conflated with the almost professional pressure I have to get the podcast out to other people. So anyways, I shared last night with the person who asked me to go listen back again. And I said, I feel a lot of pressure listening to Ryan. But it's good pressure. Like, I like it. Like, that's the difference. It's kind of the thing that, should I get up tomorrow and just be like, oh, I'm tired? Like, I wouldn't, like, that wouldn't stop me, because I would honestly think, like, this is the stuff people need to have these conversations about. They need this community. They need these ideas.
Yeah.
And why did I go through all of it to learn all of it if I'm not going to share it with somebody?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so here we are.
Yeah. And I'm very happy that this is where you're at now.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad for how well you seem to be doing too in such a short amount of time.
Oh,
has that occurred to you?
It doesn't feel like it.
No, but does it occur to you that like you've had such a quick turnaround, or does it not feel quick?
It definitely feels quick. I think everything happens so fast in general. All these life changes, the baby and diabetes, and I don't know how we made everything so fast. I think, as I said before, and as you said before, it's just my sense of responsibility for my daughter and wanting her to have the best life ever. And you know what? Being pregnant, that was the strangest and saddest feeling ever, to carry this precious baby inside of me while learning that my other baby is having this potentially life-threatening disease. But I think it pushed me to really advocate for my daughter, learn as much as I can about diabetes, make sure she's getting the best possible care, because that's not obvious. Unfortunately, it's not always the case. People need to wait, especially in the public system. People don't always know that there are other like options or different kinds of treatment. Yeah, I'm really happy that I was able to do everything so quickly. Yeah, and I'm trying.
Yeah, you are. Like, I'm just going to tell you, like, I was still crying in the shower 2 years into it. So like, you're doing fantastic, like I'm very happy for you.
I also cry.
In the shower? Or where do you do it exactly? In the car?
In the shower, in the car. Oh my God. I didn't tell you the story when I was 8 months pregnant and I watched my daughter's numbers just dropping, and she was in a daycare before we moved her to her school. And I tried to contact her educator and she didn't answer. And I see her numbers just dropping. And I'm like, eventually I went out to the car with my glucagon and in my hand, because I was already preparing for the wars. I see numbers dropping. I was driving the neighborhood like crazy, trying to locate her, only to realize that I have no idea where they are, because they were in some playground. So I was crying in the car that moment. Like, I was crying so bad. That was definitely.
Have you ever heard me tell the story of the time I was in the shower and Arden's blood sugar started crashing while she was at school?
No.
I literally like jumped out of, like, I tried texting her.
That's what happened to me yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
She didn't answer. I tried calling. She didn't answer. I tried to call the school. No one answered. The school's across the street from my house. So I came bursting through the front doors of the school and stopped at the window because it was post 9/11. So you couldn't get through you can't just walk into a school. I don't know if you all remember, you used to be able to smoke in movie theaters and just walk into a school. You can't do a lot of things like that anymore, but
yeah,
I got stopped at the window. And just as I was about to identify myself to say, listen, my daughter is likely about to have a seizure in the gymnasium, I look down and she texts me and she goes, "Oh, hey, I got your text and I drank a juice. I'm okay." And the woman looks at me.
Oh my God.
She looks at me like, "Uh-oh, this is why we don't let people in." Because I did not do my hair or anything like that coming out of the shower. And I just looked up at her and I went, "Hi, sorry, false alarm." And I walked right back out again. I didn't even tell her why. Like, I thought they'd have me locked up. You know what I mean? So.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me yesterday, to be honest. Yeah. Finally, when I had some time to take a bath, I see her numbers just crushing. And I was like, yeah, getting all wild and crazy, jumping out of the shower.
I just got back. I sat in my car and I was like, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go finish my shower and we're going to try again. And then that was it. Anyway.
Good for you. I didn't dare to try again. I knew that something new might come up. So I just gave up.
I'll give up. Well, it was awesome talking to you. Have we missed anything or anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't?
I just want to emphasize how important it is to just reach out to others. Really talk with as many people as you can. Reach out. Don't be alone in this, because managing type 1 diabetes is very, very challenging. It's not like you just take a medication and done. Like, you really need to be mindful about all the different factors that it can affect sugar levels. All the doctors keep saying that's very rare, especially in young ages, but it's actually not so rare. I keep hearing about so many people and newly diagnosed kids, and there are many parents out there who are going through very similar experiences. So just reach out for support. Don't stay alone with all of this, like with this roller coaster, let's say.
Yeah. Terrific message. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. It absolutely is. Can you hold on 1 second for me?
Sure.
Thank you. The conversation you just enjoyed was sponsored by Omnipod 5. You want to get an Omnipod 5? You can. You want to make me happy? Do it with my link, omnipod.com/juicebox. A huge thanks to US Med for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Don't forget, usmed.com/juicebox. This is where we get our diabetes supplies from. You can as well. Use the link or call 888-721-1514. Use the link or call the number, get your free benefits check so that you can start getting your diabetes supplies the way we do from US Med. Earlier, you heard me talking about Blue Circle Health, the free virtual type 1 diabetes care, education, and support program for adults. And I know it sounds too good to be true, but I swear it's free. Thanks to funding from a big T1D philanthropy group, Blue Circle Health doesn't bill your insurance or charge you a cent. In other words, it's free. They can help you with things like carb counting, insurance navigation, diabetes technology, insulin adjustments, peer support, prescription assistance, and much more. So if you're tired of waiting 9 months to get in with your endo or your educator, you can get an appointment with their team within 1 to 2 weeks. This program is showing what T1D care can and should look like. Currently, if you live in Florida, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Ohio, Delaware, Missouri, Alabama, Mississippi, Iowa, or Louisiana, if you live in one of those states, go to bluecirclehealth.org to sign up today. The link is in the show notes. And please help me to spread the word. Blue Circle Health had to buy an ad because people don't believe that it's free. But it is. They're trying to give you free care. If you live in Florida, Maine, Vermont, Ohio, Delaware, Alabama, and Missouri, it's ready to go right now. And like I said, they're adding states so quickly in 2025 that you want to follow them on social media at Blue Circle Health. And you can also keep checking bluecirclehealth.org to see when your free care is available to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following the podcast in your favorite audio app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do that now. Seriously, just to hit follow or subscribe will really help the show. If you go a little further in Apple Podcasts and set it up so that it downloads all new episodes, I'll be your best friend. And if you leave a 5-star review, I'll probably send you a Christmas card. Would you like a Christmas card? If you or a loved one was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and you're looking for some fresh perspective, the Bold Beginnings series from the Juicebox Podcast is a terrific place to start. That series is with myself and Jenny Smith. Jenny is a CDCES, a registered dietitian, and a type 1 for over 35 years. And in the Bold Beginnings series, Jenny and I are going to answer the questions that most people have after a type 1 diabetes diagnosis. The series begins at episode 698 in your podcast player, or you can go to juiceboxpodcast.com and click on Bold Beginnings in the menu. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you've noticed that the podcast sounds better and you're thinking like, how does that happen? What you're hearing is Rob at Wrong Way Recording doing his magic to these files. So if you want him to do his magic to you, wrongwayrecording.com. You got a podcast? You want somebody to edit it? You want Rob.